Looks good. All right. It looks like we're on and live. So, boy, the couple of weeks ago I had some problems with OBS, but now everything seems to be okay again with it, so that's good. By the way, for those of you who don't know, OBS is one of these screencasting software packages that you can get out there. It's free, and it really does a great job. I hadn't done live streams until I started playing around with OBS. So, good morning, everybody, and welcome. My name is Rich Charpentier. I'm the channel host, and now we're on time. It's 8 o'clock, but I was a minute early there. And I hope everyone's had a great weekend here in the U.S. This is Labor Day weekend, so today is a holiday, and mostly when you think of Labor Day weekend, you think of all the folks out doing cookouts with their families and friends and doing outdoor activities before we start into the fall and then the cold winter. Of course, here in Arizona, not as cold as other places. But so we've had a really quiet, mellow Labor Day weekend. We haven't done too much, and it's been kind of nice and relaxing. I've stayed off the screens a bit more. Went through and answered some questions on YouTube yesterday. But other than that, I've been staying away from the computer a bit because I'm usually parked here for many hours every day. So it's nice just to take a step back for a few. The tech's everywhere, though. The iPhones, the iPads, we're always connected, right? So good morning to the folks who are currently on channel. Thanks for stopping in and hanging out for a few. I don't think this one is going to be an extremely long one today because I do need to run into town to get one thing, and I'd rather get there right when the store opens. So it's 8 o'clock our time right now, and the particular shop that I'm going to be going to is open at 9, so we've got a little bit of time. Now, today's start one, we're actually going to be doing two topics today. Hey, good morning, Corey. How have you been? Good to see you on here. So, so this first one, this has been on my mind, and I have talked about it previously on another video here, but it's really been nagging at me for a couple of days with real reasons. So over the past month and a half, I've been contacted by 4 different property buyers in a month and a half to do some drone flights for them and some other imaging flights for them as they were interested in raw land, so some raw land sites where they could be building, and they didn't have enough information. There weren't enough images or information about the properties they were looking into. So I've had all these private individuals, well, not all these, we've got the 4, plus then we've got that other project with a ranch going on. That's also just a private person, not a large company or anything. But, it caused me to start looking around at some of the real estate sites that specialize in raw and vacant land. And with that being said, I've got a friend in the Naples, Florida area. We were in college together, one of my best friends for quite a long time now. Hey, Heidi. And she specializes in raw and vacant land sales. So we've been talking a lot about the types of images that she lists for her clients and the value of drones in there. So she sees a lot of value in that. She sees a lot of value in imaging, and she also notices that a lot of realtors, especially in the raw land marketplace, don't quite follow through on everything for their clients. So she's told me about some raw land dealers in Florida who don't even put up a single photo for you. But so with these inquiries and my conversation with Heidi, I said, it seems like there is a market for flying for real estate buyers, but it's kind of a strange thing because normally you have an expectation that the brokerages that are selling someone's home or land site would probably be interested in getting some good images up there and making sure that they're representing their client sites well. And that doesn't happen. So in a previous video, so by the way, this is part 1 of today. So you're going to see it flash by for part 2, Lightroom and Photoshop. I wanted to talk about that a bit. But one example that I had was a gentleman who got in touch who lives in the Prescott area, already owns a home here, wants to build a different home and move his mom in with him. She's getting up in years, and he wants to make sure that she's taken care of and watched over. So I thought hey, that's really nice. You're a good son. And, so they had an area that they wanted me to go check out. where they'd seen some new building lots. And so there's several lots, so it's kind of all these parcels that got divided up together. And I went in and I took a look at some of the images. So this is one of the properties. This was actually the property. I think this is the one he was looking at. No, it's not. This is Unit 68. So this is another one up the road, and I'm going to show you another picture after this. But so this particular lot is $181,900. So that's, that's a substantial amount of cash to lay out just for the raw land site. And this image, I don't know what this is, really pixelated, horrible, of some mountain off in the distance. I don't know what mountain it is, but this is the only photo for this particular lot. Now, there are some other lots, same area, so that was number 68. Yeah, he was looking at 63 and, Unit 63, I believe. So let's open that one real quick. And so the first photo is the lot number and then scrubby stuff. And if we take a look through this, okay, so that's Granite Mountain off in the distance. Those are lots further up the road. And as you can see, we got some more scrubby stuff going on and some more scrubby stuff going on. Also, it's really clear to me that this is either late fall or winter in these images. So not getting a good feel for the location. Oh, and there's that's the same image as on the other one, isn't it? Yeah, and the same image again. If you look down here, so this is photo 6 and 7 out of 42. So, and we've got that road with Granite Mountain again. I'm not quite sure what kind of views are up, and there's that same pixelated thing again. As you can see, they just kind of put up some junk photos there. So this gentleman called us and he said, I'm thinking about buying one of these lots, but I'd like to share some good imagery with my mom to give her an idea of, where we'd be building and what would be around us. So great idea. So we did go out and we flew it for him. We actually met up with him at the location. And while we're here, so let me just pull this one up. So this is a substantial amount of acreage here. So I'm just waiting for preview to pop up here for me. There we go. So as you can see, we were checking out 63, 64, and 65 for this gentleman. And there's 68 up there that only had that single image. And there's actually, I think the house was on 67. But so this gives you an idea. So there's a fair number of lots here. Hey, plenty of scrubby stuff for sale. Absolutely, Ray. There is nothing better than all the little pricker bushes here in Prescott. Literally walking out to these things, you get stuck and stabbed by lots of stuff. But at least we don't have the teddy bear choyas here that will just go right through leather boots. I had that happen to a friend once. But yeah, so you got these scrubby land photos. I don't know what's going on there. And as a buyer, if you were relying on just that website and just that realtor.com listing, you don't really have a great idea. And for the price of these lots, you would think, let's jump back over here. So let's look at, we looked at 2743, 2603. So I'm putting this one out there. I'm not saying I've got the solution to this, but I want regular viewers here to think along with me. How could we as drone pilots, as commercial drone pilots, start reaching this buyer's market, at least on the raw land side? And I'm going to say a little more about homes in just a moment, but I'm thinking, the raw land side of this right now. So we've got another one on Zillow, 2715. So let's open a link in a new tab and let's take a look at this. So this one's 165,000. And one thing I will not do is actually draw lines on there. That's for survey engineers, land survey engineers, not for us to do. So maybe a survey engineer is involved in this one. So here we've got some better images. We don't know if it's the same listing agents or not, but this one does give us a better feel for it. But across the board, you'd like to put your best foot forward on these, especially on the price of these lots, 165. Let's close that one and take a look at this one. So this one's 145, and then we've got the other one at 181. So some substantial investment going on here. You haven't even started building the home. So I'd like to see a little more in the way of good images, and I get that. So that's what I've been getting contacted about. by potential buyers. And so for those buyers, we went out and let's see. So I did a couple of things. This particular gentleman had two specific things in mind. Actually, he had one specific thing in mind. He wanted some video. He wasn't worried about stills. He wanted to fly that property and actually the properties next to it that were open parcels as well, just to give the overall feel of what this was going to be looking like. I want to make sure that my audio is turned off so that I'm not blasting any audio. I've been thinking of marketing to buyers for months. How do we find them? That's one of the things that's on my mind, Corey. If something pops up in my head, it'll be up on this channel, I promise. Because I think there's plenty of these types of job sites for the quantity of drone pilots out there today. So we're not tripping over each other for jobs here. So I think brainstorming together is a great idea. And for, one of the things I'm going to do on azdrone.net is I'm going to be doing a series of articles on the importance of imaging. And one of the articles I'm going to say is if you are a buyer who would like better views of these raw land sites, we do that. Because I did have a comment on one of my most recent flights from another gentleman who said, I was looking for drone photographers in Prescott. I found azdrone.net. I thought everything was great there. He loved all the construction and stuff. He was worried that I might be outside of his price range because of the other types of jobs I do. So I need to clarify on my website that I am willing to fly for buyers as well. I spent a lot of time on the site working on things for sellers, working on construction groups, working on progression reporting. So all of that stuff says, hey, we know what we're doing in these categories, but I might actually be making buyers feel like I'm precluding them and that I'm beyond their reach. So I want to clarify that. So I'm going to do a series of blog posts over the next couple of weeks covering a few services that we do that we might not, target in on so much as we do when it comes to the construction work, because that stuff's a lot of fun. Flying these raw land sites is cool too. And I love seeing, giving people good information that they can make buying decisions with. So yeah, Corey, if I come up with it, or if you come up with it, or anyone else popping through here, if you have some ideas on outreach to buyers, that would be great. Now, I will say, I don't know how we could do something for buyers of homes, or, folks who are doing rentals or whatever. When houses go up for sale, you can go on to Realtor or Zillow, and maybe you'll stumble across some of these homes that have terrible photos. I mean terrible photos, or no photos at all, or only exterior photos because they don't want to show you the interiors. That's all probably the seller and the seller's agent. So if a buyer was interested in seeing more inside, I don't think they're going to go calling a drone pilot. I think they're probably going to call the seller's agent and say, we'd like to see more. And in this atmosphere, the pandemic atmosphere, all of us wearing our masks and everything, a lot of people might not want to go into homes right now, doing the social distancing and everything. But at the same time, I don't think a buyer is going to call a drone pilot and go, hey, I saw this property listing. I saw this house listed. Can you go fly that for me? So then what am I going to do? Show up on the seller's doorstep, knock on it, and go, hey, a potential buyer asked if I could fly your site for you. I think that would be a little bit awkward, and maybe the person answering the door might think you're a little bit strange, or you want to talk to them about saving their souls. So, sorry, but the random knock on the door, who's on the other side of the door. So anyways, I think it'd be tougher when it comes to buyers interested in homes, that we couldn't just go out and fly, a private person's home site that they might have listed with someone, but maybe the buyer doesn't think the images are good enough. So yeah, we did the video for this gentleman because that was one of the things he was after. But I also did some 360s for him as well. So we're actually looking at two lots here. And I know that I showed some of this on a previous video. I don't know if it was a live stream or not. And then we come right down to the corner there. And so we're looking back at the lot stretching in front of us. And you can see me, the drone operator, right over here. And I'm actually standing in front of one of the signs to tell you that the lot is here over to here. So we've got a really good feel for that. And the potential buyer had a really good feel for that. Apparently, he'd been spending a good amount of time driving around there looking at those lots. And thinking that they might be the place he wanted to go. So we also did 2 quick 360s for him just to get an overall feel, because there are several lots in here. So an idea of the other neighbors who might be building into the area, what kind of views he could expect. So we did one higher and one lower. I think this one, let me see, 360 above lot 64. And then we did one over the next lot, and we were seeing 64 and 65 out there. So these went a long way. We actually heard back from the client, and he let us know after he went and saw his mom that this was exactly what he was looking for. This is exactly what he needed to show her. So I don't know if they made their final buying decision or not, but it was brilliant on his part, since he wasn't being able to show what he wanted to show about the property to convince her that, yeah, let's build a house here. Sorry, let's close that one down. Another recent one for another private client was over off of Copper Basin Road. So we did this initial property visit, and one of the things that I added into this while we were talking with the client, I decided to go ahead and do a very simple 3D interactive model for him, because this is on a steeper hillside. One of the borders, of course, is the Copper Basin Road. The other border is right up in here. We did not mark out property lines or anything. Once again, I'm not a licensed survey engineer. Hey, thanks very much. Good morning, Supersonic. How are you doing? And can upload basic images on Google Maps with a web address and embed. Yeah, you absolutely can, Ray. So as a matter of fact, I've been doing some Street View stuff lately, some Google Street View, using a 360 camera, and I've been filling in the gaps in some places that I like visiting, doing that Street View. So it's a very simple thing. So why wouldn't a realtor take that time to do a little bit more? And actually, on this particular property, if you had a nice monopod with a 360 camera just from the roadside, I can get up above all that brushy stuff and give you a much better feel with a quick 360. It wouldn't take a lot of time at all, just a little bit of processing, post-processing time afterward, and getting it up online. Or if you really wanted to go the super quick way, upload to Street View as an individual, and that's going to list that area off. So yep, like we were saying at the beginning of this, those scrubby, the little scrub lands and stuff in there, felt like the camera was right down in there. If I had, the monopole just holding it above my head and extended with the Theta Z1 or an Insta360, I'm going to show something a lot nicer than some of those crummy little shrub spots, right? So for George here on this one, we actually did that model. We did 2 360 property panos. We did one at 30 feet above the location and one at 50 feet above the location. So this gave him a good idea. And since we weren't listing, MLS and most listing services, they don't want text on your 360s or anything. But since I was doing this for a private person, we put little icons in here as well, just to give them an idea. All right, there's where Copper Basin is. Here's where the lower property parking area is, where we met up. So that's close to one of his corners. And then we also have the drone pilot, and his expectation of where he's building is actually right below us in here. So, and one of the things that was confirmed for him, because while we were out there, so we met up with him and his wife. They actually took us to one of the property corners. We got to have a good conversation. So while we were there, one of the things I wanted to do for him was a simple ortho mosaic to give the overall idea. I have not cropped this one down yet because this was the initial pass. We're doing one more thing for them. Since I was doing the ortho mosaic, I decided to also took only moments, so I decided also to provide him with a digital elevation model, because the area that they're thinking about building in is in what we'd call this lower right corner here, which has the best elevation in the area. But you can clearly see, if it was monsoon season or they get a heavy snow, we know where the water and runoff is going to be going. Then we've got this one orange point right here. That's an extremely tall tree that actually also showed up in that 3D model. When we first assembled this quick page for this gentleman, I got an email back from the same day, and he said to me, just this presentation, which did not take a lot of time, because as I've said before, I've created these templates now for some of the viewing for my clients on AZ Drone. And he dropped me a line and he said what we had done just with this presentation, not even all the images he was getting, just this quick presentation went way beyond his expectations of what we'd be doing for him. Even though we explained to him what we'd be doing, when he saw this final product, he was already thrilled to pieces. And, you know, we still owed him one more piece of it that I hadn't finished, but I wanted to get something up. I always like offloading as quick as possible and working on things because I want to see if we did a good job or not. Let me take a look over. All right, Supersonic, glad you're doing good as well. So anyways, this exceeded expectations, and to me, this is a very, very simple. This is a very simple part of the jobs that we can do for people. So to have that kind of response and reaction, and you know, some enthusiasm as well. So one of the things we were holding out on, we're going to be doing a shot from further to the west back to the property, because one of the things they want to do is they want to do a really nice print of the property before they build on it. So this was the second one of these. So one of them was 50 above ground level. The second one was 30 above ground level, and you can actually see where there's a seam line that didn't go so well from the DJI drone. So this was done with a DJI Mavic 2 Pro. So let's close that one down. And I just wanted to take a look at Sky Ranch / the McRae Ranch, which we've seen multiple times on this channel, but I wanted to come back to this one again because here's what I really want to point out about this. Once again, this is another private property owner who found us through azdrone.net, and he really liked the website. He liked the professional level of the website. He felt it exceeded other sites in the area, so I appreciate those types of compliments. But this was another private party. This wasn't a realtor. This wasn't a large construction firm. This was another individual who wanted to document their own project on their property that they bought and are expanding their ranch area on. So the buyers are out there, the private needs are out there, and I think personally I need to do a better job on my website of letting the buyers and the property owners know, yes, we work with you too. We do smaller projects. It's not just the larger projects that we've been showing lately, but we do in fact do private flights for folks. And in the case of this ranch, multiple private flights as we're showing the overall progression of the location. This one's probably going to be wrapping up soon. I'm going to be sad to see this one go, but we're getting to that point where everything that we've needed to do is just about there. We're going to be doing one more really cinematic video, which will show up on this channel, so you'll get to see that. So, you know, and it shouldn't be too far off now that construction has resumed and all the components are coming in. Because one of the big things I've had with clients this summer is everybody has pushed dates out. Everybody has pushed dates out. And we're actually getting some bad weather in. Apparently tomorrow and Wednesday we're going to be getting a major temperature drop, which I'm thrilled with, but we're going to have some super strong winds. And so I'm not going to be flying Tuesday or Wednesday. And then I've got flights Friday, Saturday, and Sunday because of the backlog of everyone starting their projects up again. So feast or famine, right? It always seems to be either it's really quiet or it's really busy. So we're about to start back into really busy. So here's what I want with folks who watch this one and who've hung with me this long on this video. Think about how we as drone pilots can reach out to these private buyers, these folks who are looking at the raw land. So what app did I use for that ortho mosaic? The slider. All right, so there is a slider. This is specifically for WordPress. It is called 2020. It is a free plugin. There are a lot of slider plugins out there if you look around before and after. Another one is Revolution Slider or Slider Revolution. I always mix their name up. That one also has a before and after slider. I think it's on their paid for version. But so, you know, Revolution Slider, 2020. If you're a WordPress user and you go into WordPress and you just type in before and after image viewer, you're going to hit an avalanche of different before and after image viewers. If you're using another platform for building your websites, just do a simple search on before and after sliders for whatever platform you're using. You're going to find something. And like I said, I'm already a Slider Revolution owner. I actually pay their licensing. They have a free version, but I pay their licensing for a couple other features they offer. So if you need help finding that, Jerry, just go ahead and drop me a comment afterward. But if you're using WordPress, you got a lot of options. But if you need help searching, I'd be happy to help you search as well. All right, so wrapping that one up, if you guys have any brainstorming ideas, because I think this could be a viable marketplace, because we know if you've done any flight work over raw land sites, oftentimes the brokers will not put a lot of time into the images on the ground because, as we saw earlier, you're shooting from the scrub brush. So I think a monopole with a 360 camera or one of our drones for some video 360s and some stills are going to be great. I'm going to be going north of here next week to do another raw land site that's a 20-acre raw land site for a property owner. So that property owner got in touch, so it wasn't a listing agent or anything. Once again, it's just another private property owner who's looking for some drone services. So I'm going to be working on my site, so stay tuned to azdrone.net and you'll see some new blog posts come out here as I wrap my head around how I want to say this to real estate buyers that we're available for them as well. All right, the second part of this, so I did a survey the other week on my Patreon channel. So a small plug for my Patreon channel there. If you enjoy what we do here, if you enjoy the conversational atmosphere and talking about building your drone business, you might want to head on over to Patreon and become a subscriber. You don't have to. You're still going to see a lot of the same materials. The patrons do get first dibs on some things like our map pilot class. And I had put up a survey over on Patreon recently because I was just thinking over and over again, you know, there's a million classes on Photoshop. There's a million classes on Lightroom. I've been doing Lightroom and Photoshop for quite some time. I will say, yes, I feel I'm at an expert level at this point. I've done in-person classes on Lightroom. I've done my online courses at Udemy. But I was looking around and I said, you know, there is no Lightroom and Photoshop for drone pilots courses out there. So I was thinking about starting to build a, from the ground up, Lightroom and Photoshop series of lectures. And of course, I'm going to be previewing them there on my Patreon channel first, because my patrons have actually been helping out and giving me feedback. We've got another class right now on Map Pilot. At the moment, it's 4 lectures. I think it's coming up on 2 hours. And I've been getting feedback from my patrons, so thanks everyone for that too. You guys have helped me with it, and I know that seeing the class has helped you. So at some point, that one will be released to the wild, but I was thinking about doing this particular series and once again previewing it for the patrons, but then making it something for either Udemy or I'm actually thinking about using Teachable now. So Udemy takes such a big percentage. If people don't use the links that I provide, let's say down in the show details below, I have links with coupon codes that gets you a discount on my classes. But if people stumble across me on Udemy and don't have my coupon codes, I'm really taking a hit financially. So I've been thinking about going over to Teachable, but to host with them costs me $100 a month. So I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to sell enough courses to justify that expenditure. But in the meantime, what I would like to know from everyone, would you have an interest in a course series specifically for drone operators on Lightroom and Photoshop? Because looking around, there's just not a combination course. So I've got a class up on Lightroom, standalone Lightroom, that I've been doing forever. I feel that that's a really powerful and useful course, but I'm starting to think, let's just talk drones. So let me know what you think of that. Jerry, let's see. Thanks. I've been using an online tool called Juxtapose. Okay. See, there's another one I didn't even know about, Jerry. But yeah, there's a ton of those out there. Like I said, that Revolution Slider or Slider Revolution, whatever the name is, that one has a really nice one. I find it very useful, and also you can do multiple slides with it. Not to mention, you can actually do some 360 virtual tour style stuff with Revolution Slider. So they've got a lot of additional plugins if you license the plugin. So I think maybe it's $79 for a year for support, but then you can also, you know, phone into them or email them for additional support if you're having problems with the product. So I don't work for them. I'm not an affiliate of theirs. So there you go. But yeah, so let me know. And I know that I don't have everyone on here now. I know a lot of folks are in different time zones, so they're not here for the live stream. But if there would be a true interest in a Lightroom and Photoshop for drone operators, then I think that I will probably put something together. Included in that, I would also be talking about 360s. We've been talking about the Theta Z1 and the Insta360 1X, but all of my 360s started with 360s from drones on my original Mavic Pro. So the whole interest in 360s started because of a drone, and assembling those 360s, utilizing Lightroom and Photoshop, you can really produce some great results, whether you're doing an outdoor setting with your drone or you're doing indoor settings with a Theta or another 360 cam. So I've been spending a lot more time in Lightroom and Photoshop lately as we've been doing more and more of this 360 virtual tour stuff. And so while I've been working back and forth between Lightroom and Photoshop, I said, you know what? I'm going to put it out there to my subscribers, get your opinions on it. So let me know down in the comments below. Drop me a private line. Let me know on Patreon if you're one of the patrons. I did an initial survey. I had some interest from folks. I had other folks who are already pretty well seasoned in Lightroom and Photoshop. So there you go. Well, all right, everyone. I'd love to let me look back over again. Jerry, I'd be interested in the course, but can't justify the cost of paying for the software at the moment. Yeah, I've got you there. So so far, very few clients. I get that one. Adobe, I think the price of Photoshop and Lightroom together has come down. Let's go find out. Adobe, Photoshop, and Lightroom. Yeah, so let's see what the price is. Compare the plans. Oh, I actually saw it over on the right-hand side, and I was being impatient. All right, so Photoshop and Lightroom together is $10 a month. And, that's in line. It used to be before the cloud. I remember I was paying for updates when it was on CDs, something like $650 for licensing for upgrades. But so $10 a month gets you Lightroom and Photoshop together. I think they do a test trial period if you haven't downloaded from them before. And so I think that is an option as well. And then they have for individuals, for businesses, for students and teachers. So all apps, yeah, well, you don't need all the apps. I've used all the apps because I also use InDesign. So there you go. But so $10 a month, not terrible, not super cost prohibitive, but I do get it. We're all watching our budgets right now. There are other things that I want to spend on right now too that I'm not spending on. But if you come to that $10 a month, then that's a good deal. Also, you can do a lot more with Photoshop. Oh yeah, and that's what I was going to say before we wrap up here and I head out. Okay, Photoshop. We're just going to take a moment. Why I think there's so many classes on Photoshop and that they're needed. Way back in 2002 is when I started using Photoshop. I was still in telecom consulting back then, but as a sideline, I was having fun making maps of northern New Hampshire for mountain biking. It was a hobby of mine. So maps all the way back in 2002. Can you see why I'm interested in this with drones? Yeah, probably. So I was building out my own sets of maps for off-roading along the logging roads of northern New Hampshire, up near Pittsburgh, New Hampshire, the place where there's more moose than human beings. All of these, oh, absolutely. You're totally correct, Jerry. It's and I feel the same way. I'm like, one of the services that I use, it's $100 a month, and I've been thinking about dropping it recently. It does bring some value, but there you go. So anyways, my initial experience with Photoshop and InDesign, because I was laying out these maps and I was printing little waterproof maps. When I first got into Photoshop, I started looking around in Photoshop, all the buttons, all the different doodads. And this is coming from the perspective of a guy in his early 30s at the time, who was a Lucent network engineer. So I worked on Lucent switches, Tel Labs digital access cross-connect systems, voicemail platforms from Boston Technology, prepay platforms for prepay phones. I was doing all these things, reading all these engineering manuals, staying up to date on everything. I opened up Photoshop and was just bombed. I even had a book on Photoshop. There was such a learning curve. There's so many features and powers in the Photoshop platform that after a couple of weeks, I almost gave up on Photoshop. I remember saying to my ex, I already have to know all this engineering stuff. This is like a whole other set of engineering stuff for images. And it was really difficult for me to get into it at first because there are so many features and options. There are things in Photoshop that you will absolutely never use. For other people who are interested in doing 3D things and even some animation things, and you can also bring 3D modeling models into Photoshop. You can do that. So when you do a drone flight and you develop your point cloud and everything, you can actually export and work on 3D models in Photoshop. There is so much in Photoshop that it is overwhelming. So, I was already involved in all this tech stuff, and Photoshop, frankly, scared me. So it wasn't until 2007, 2008 that I really started getting a handle on Photoshop and understanding what a powerful tool it is. So that was one of the other reasons why I was thinking about doing the class, is because Photoshop's plain and simple overwhelming. And even today, even feeling as though I'm at an expert level with it, when they bring out new stuff, there are buttons in there I have never pressed in my life and probably never will. So there you go. All right, I'll be looking forward to all your feedback. Let me take a look back down. Yep, so Jerry was the last one there with the comment, and I totally agree. And we do have to pick and choose which platforms we're using with all these subscriptions. And we got to keep a hold of the subscriptions and remind ourselves, if you're not using it, go ahead and get rid of that subscription and bring something else in. So like I said, I'm thinking about dumping one that's costing me $100 a month. That's for some of my SEO research. And I have several different tools that I use for SEO. So I'm thinking about dropping that one. It's hard though, because it has some useful tools in it. Well, all right, everybody. And with that, we're going to wrap this one up early. This is definitely a shorter one. My apologies, but it is Labor Day weekend after all. So I'm going to go back to being a slacker for the day and just enjoying one more day. And then, like I said, end of this week, we're going to be hitting a lot of flights. So we'll probably talk about some of those flights next week on next Monday's live stream. And if anything comes up between now and then, I'll do another live stream, or maybe I'll just do a regular video if I want to do some more tutorials. In the meantime, for the patrons, you will be seeing lecture number 5 from Map Pilot this week. Sorry, I went into slacker mode at the end of last week. Sometimes you can't help it, and you just got to take a break. All right, everyone, have an awesome start to the week. I hope you have a nice finish to your Labor Day weekend, maybe one more cookout, maybe hanging out on a lake. That's where my family's probably at back in New England right now, lakeside, and enjoying the end of summer and the start to fall. So we'll see you again real soon. Have an awesome week. We'll see you later, Jerry. We'll see you later, everybody. Have a great one.